Hey guys, my name is Dr. Cheryl Meier, and I help people through their spiritual awakening navigate. And today I was going to teach 3 gifts, 3 secrets of spiritual awakening. One that was coming to me really strong this morning. Sometimes when you're in your bed before you're, letting the world come in, you can sit there and get deep insights if you just stay quiet in that peaceful place. So this was coming to me, and I wanted to share. I wanted to take some time. I was just in Costa Rica last week, and we went whitewater rafting. They challenged us to do all of these things that were like beyond different people's comfort zones, and I was just really deeply present because it's a new state in my life. Learning how to be deeply present wherever you are. I just was having lunch with someone, and it was like I was having an out-of-body experience just sitting there outside having lunch, because you just are present and you notice the beauty and you notice you're just being present. But anyway, so I was present on this whitewater raft, and the people that were in my boat, we listened to the guy instructing, because he was serious. He was like, look, when I say get on the boat, this is what it looks like. You go like this. When I say forward, you go forward with your oars. When I say backwards, you go backwards. Always have your hand on the oar. All these directions, blah, blah, blah. And I went to camp for about a month every summer since I was 8. So I went for almost a year of my life. And at camp, we learned how to canoe. They taught us the different parts of the canoe, how to flip it over, how to, what happens if you do get flipped over, how to steer it, how to paddle, all this stuff. And so I knew how a boat worked just because I had done canoe, and I'm getting somewhere with this. So in your spiritual life, this is what I was noticing. So we took off. We were like the first ones to get to a boat, first ones to take off, and then it ended up that we waited for, I'm going to set this so it's more even. We waited for the other boats so that we'd all go at the same time, and then we ended up taking the rear. So it's like the first shall be last. But the people in my group were like go-getters. We're like, we're taking this seriously, and I mean, we're going to enjoy ourselves. I for sure enjoyed myself, because I kept, I do wide angle vision, so I kept seeing things in the trees and pointing them out to the guy, our instructor guy, our guide with us was sitting right next to me. But you look, and what I was noticing spiritually, what I was being shown in my spirit, as you are in deep presence and you're open to these insights, then you'll see them. I ask for them all the time, so I'm primed, if you want to call it primed, ready to see them. But you can do that. That's why I'm teaching you right now. You can do that. So I was in this quiet mind and following the instructions, but it was like, we'd hit these big rocks in the raft, and he has the oar in the back, and you put it, he just kept it on the right side, and well, maybe sometimes he went to the other side, I didn't notice that, but sometimes we would be going backwards, we'd turn around from a rock, and sometimes, but most of the time he's telling us row forward. And if you questioned him, or if you didn't understand what he's doing, this is the thing, is when you row forward and you are in like a canoe or a rafting boat like that, the forward motion, the power of going forward, is what his rudder uses to turn the boat around. And so even if you're going backwards, you're going the other way, if you're rowing forwards because you hear the instructions to row forwards, it will turn the boat back around if someone's a good steerer, And what happened was the people in front of us, 3 people got thrown out of their boat. And I saw we were coming right towards him, and he had to steer us so we didn't go over them in the rocks. And so it was serious business, because one of the people got in our boat afterwards, and he literally saw his life flash before him. Because when you're in a state, and I've talked about this some in a lot older videos of mine, there's golden nuggets in all of my videos. They're like therapy, I'll just say it like that. But when you're in a feeling state, so if you're in a good feeling state, you want that feeling state to last, and it feels like it is going to last, because the feeling is the right side of the brain, left is logic, and so the logic side kind of goes down, and the feeling state is hooked up, it's heightened, right? And so it's kind of but when you're in a panic or an anxiety about life or whatever, then you feel we're in that breakup energy again that I've talked about. You feel like that's going to last forever, and that's why people get really depressed, because they don't know that feeling state can end. And sometimes they become so familiar with that feeling state that it gets prolonged, and you don't have to, but what you focus on is what you perpetuate. So anyway, though, this guy was in there feeling like he was just going to die, because things were out of his control. All of the boats went past him, because we went past him. We ended up right away being able to pull over and throw out a line, and they showed us how to catch the line ahead of time. Told us, roll on your back, you have a life vest on, but still the water was going over him. His life vest, he didn't tighten it enough, so the water was just going in. It wasn't, you can't think very well in those kinds of situations unless you're trained like our guides were. So we got him. He got in the boat with us. But had we not, I just noticed, had we not kept trusting that our guide knew what he was doing and following his directions, it would have seemed in my logical brain, it would have seemed why are we rowing forward when we're going backwards? We want to be going that way, and we're rowing that way, and he's saying forward. But I knew, because I had trained with the canoe for so many years, that when he puts the rudder in the back of the boat and you have the forward motion, it turns you around. And so other people might just keep following his instructions blindly, and that's not me. I never follow instructions blindly, hardly ever. I want to know why we're doing something, what we're doing. I want to, and so it was good that I was in the boat and that I knew this, because then I could, and he said, row with your whole body, not just your arms, or you'll get tired. And so that reminds me, I met this guy that's a multi-millionaire. I don't know how many millions. I didn't ask. Hey, what's in your portfolio? But he was talking about one of the main things that he's learned is take action. That just reminded me, when he says row with your whole body, or else you'll just get tired if you're just rowing with your arms. It's part of the spiritual awakening, is being present in the wholeness of yourself, and taking awkward action. I've talked about that a lot, because we're going to an unfamiliar place. If our parents were awakened, then we would have already been awakened, because their consciousness wakes us up. But we come in here and we have this longing for more spiritual depth and for more presence. And so we go after this spiritual path, or we surrender into it, But part of it is, if people betrayed our trust in the past, then it's hard for us to trust the spiritual path, because you're listening to your intuition, and it's so subtle. And you're going to new territory, to these deep places that look like you could die, because like Christ said, every day take up your cross and die. And that doesn't mean be a masochist. It means be willing to go to these wild places of like walking on water where you feel like you're going to die. Do you think Peter felt like he was going to die when he got out of the boat and walked on water? Well, yeah. I mean, at first they thought he was a ghost, you know. He's like, no, it's I. And he says, if it's you, then, you know, let me come out to you. So it's like, how are you going to know how big divine love is, God is, if you don't go out? Yeah, I'm going to do this. If you don't get out of the boat and go for it, you know, like, how am I going to know what skating is like? You know, I roller skate or whatever. If I don't go for the tricks, if I don't try new ones, if I don't expand, if I don't try to go backwards, let's say, where I can't see, you know, I'm not going to know the fullness of the joy of skating or dancing or singing or playing guitar or being in a connected relationship if I'm not going for it, you know, if I'm not the two other things that were coming to mind with this, you know, this is why I take myself on these trips, and you don't have to be on a trip. It's the same, like I said in my sweat lodge video, you know, my first time in a sweat lodge. It's the same when I did yoga the next day. You know, it's like, how long am I willing to hold these poses when I really want to get out and it's uncomfortable? You know, it's not easy to take this path. It's a lot easier to just sit in the back of a church and, you know, sing a hymn and feel like you're religious because you did that, you know. And maybe you'll get some insight from singing a hymn, you know, maybe. I'm not putting that down. Maybe you'll get into a quiet space. But I'm saying, like, too many of us, and I'm speaking to myself, for too long stayed in a safe place and called that faith. You know, faith is like what they say, like, someone walking that tightrope. If it's divine love and they have a wheelbarrow, and it's like, are you going to put yourself in that wheelbarrow and trust that you'll be taken across, you know? Or do you want to keep trying to control everything by your own egotism, by your own control mechanisms, and by staying in the same place and choosing the same, you know, familiar experiences that we knew in childhood that hurt us in childhood, but we're too afraid that we don't deserve something more than that, so we don't go for something more than that because we just assume we'll be disappointed. And the two other things I was going to say are related to this is that, you know, when you go for a spiritual awakening and take this path and dare to do the inner work and dare to be present, other people get inspired. Like, I just, you know, I don't know if I got to talk about it here, but my sister said she's lost 55 pounds and she was inspired because I kept flexing, you know, not from my videos, but from talking to her, and she knows me, so she's seen, you know, I went from a size 12 to a size 4 in 11 months because I just, you know, I did action. I kept doing yoga every day, 6 days a week, this power yoga video, just a video I had, and I roller skated or I hiked, and I didn't do it for like ego gratification this time. I just did it because I was committed to taking action in my life, and I was tired of listening to excuses, and I wasn't willing to do that anymore, so I did that. So and then my brother, all this good stuff is happening in my brother's life, and I mean, we've only had a few conversations. I'm not saying it's directly because of me, but I know that I have a different mindset, and that creates a different puzzle piece in my family, in the dynamic with other people too, with my children. You just end up And with my clients and with my friends, you end up inspiring them. I hear it all the time. They're like, I'm so inspired by you. And so it's just this beautiful after effect that, like, when you step out in faith and do new things in your life, then other people do this as well. You know, they change, and their lives are richer. Because it's like, if you saw, that's what I was thinking of, if you saw someone just walking on a tightrope next to you, you know, or walking on water, but like over a bunch of crocodiles, and being like, yeah, I got this, you know, because they kept doing it and they knew how to not fall in by learning how to not fall in, you know, not by just magically doing it the first time. I have to keep, you've seen my earlier videos, I had to keep taking awkward action forward in guitar and making videos and being present and being on camera. And, you know, I've been a psychologist for a number of years, but it doesn't automatically translate into all of this. And so the second tip, the first one was just trust that even if it looks like you're going the opposite way, that if you're listening to your intuition and you're honoring your faith and you're surrendering to divine love, then, you know, amazing things can happen. And you can't use these eyes, you use your inner eyes. You learn to develop your inner eyes and your inner faith. The second one is, when you do this, you inspire other people. And the third secret is, when you do this, when you embrace your spiritual awakening and go into the dark night, you know, it's like, we don't spiritually bypass. We feel it to heal it. When you choose to go into all these deep places and not take the easy route and not just keep running after immediate pleasures or whatever, you're more conscious to other people, and you bring so much more love into this world, instead of polluting it with all your toxicity that you kept trying to avoid for so long before, and you kept bringing into relationships. It's just such this freer feeling where you're not dependent on other people. You know more your own sovereignty and your own divinity in a way. It's said, the Greek Orthodox say that God became man so that man could become God. And so, like, to become more loving is to bring more love into the collective consciousness in this world, and to bring it into other people's lives, and to bring less toxicity, less of the pain and the suffering that we experienced a lot of times in our own childhood by the unconsciousness of our parents. We're actively choosing to be more conscious, and that brings so much more love and less toxicity into the world. And it's just this really good feeling, you know. And that's it. All right, those are the 3 secrets in spiritual awakening that you're not always aware of. It's just benefits, you know. And you know, the first one is learning. It's honing your intuition more to know that sometimes it looks like you're going backwards, but you're actually going forwards.